Hello, hello. I think we're live. Yay, it's working. Oh my goodness. Oh my gosh. I don't even know how to tell all of you like what I had to do just to get YouTube stream up. I've been testing a lot of new like live stream settings and oh my goodness, okay. All right, let's see here. Okay. All right, how we looking? We're looking good. Yes. All right, let me share my screen here. Hello and welcome everybody back to the channel. I'm Mari and today I'm with my friend Mycora and we're going to be yes, hello. Sorry to cut you off. I'm just so like
we've been dealing with fires today.
We really have. As you can see here, we are going to be talking about some Live2D stuff. I am excited to continue our previous lessons. It's been a while since we've done this, but we're going to be continuing making our VTuber model. Mycora has been learning a lot about VTubers and Live2D, so today is an educational stream today. We're actually doing a couple of them today, so this is the first lesson that we're going to be doing. Today is how to make a VTuber Live2D Cubism Part 3. And so, for all of you who are either watching this right now or if you're going to watch the VOD later, we have a Live2D file example that you can all use and download right now. You can either download it in the description down below or you can scan the QR code, which I realize we're kind of in the way for, so give me 1 second here. Boop. Mycora is also in the way. Boop. Okay, this is your... Quickly scan the code while you can! Okay, too late. All right, if you haven't scanned it without time, either go back in the video or go in the description down below. It's free. It does not cost you anything. This is sponsored by Live2D Cubism, so everything on this is free for you to use that I have provided for you. So, what are we going to be learning today? The last time we did this, we had done body Z, we did angle, face Z, and today I'm going to be showing you, well, we're going to be explaining how your face tracking affects your face movements in VTube Studio. I'm going to be demonstrating the basics of rigging angle X, angle Y in the four corners of the face, the diagonals. And then I'm going to be showcasing the new AI features in Live2D Cubism. It's really exciting. So, also, I would like to just say thank you, Buff, for becoming a member, and thank you, Aerith, for resubscribing. All right, so introduction today. What is X, Y, and Z for Live2D, and how is it used for other applications? We talked a little bit about this the last time, but I'll just kind of go over a quick summary of this. So, angle X, Y, and Z. Angle X is when your face turns left and right of your model. Angle Y is looking up and down, and angle Z is like your head tilt. And interestingly enough, as you see here, the body also moves in a similar way as the face angles, but we'll talk about that more in another lesson. These are the parameters when you're in VTube Studio, where it's tracking where your face is located with the application. And based off of that input, which is your face angle, so angle X is kind of like literally you turning your head left and right, and face angle Y is literally looking up and down. And then face angle Z is literally tilting. Now, there is another type of input that we can do, which is like your positioning, where you physically move your whole body over to the left, over to the right, all the way up and all the way down. And that kind of stuff can also affect how your model moves. But we'll talk more about that in another lesson when we go over like physics and stuff. So this is kind of the use case for VTube Studio. You see how like my face is moving here and these are moving. This is the input of like my actual face, and then this is the output that you can assign based off of different values to get a more range or limited range. It really depends on how your model is rigged, because if your model isn't rigged to have full range of movement, then it doesn't matter how much of the output you put, because it's only going to go how much it is rigged, which is why having a super fluid, beautifully moved model can take some time, because it really does depend on how we animate it. So this is kind of like the use cases for it. So now we're going to start our rigging, where we're going to be doing angle X, we're going to do angle Y, and the four corners. Michael, are you ready to go into Live2D Cubism?
Yes, yes.
All right. Let us start this bad boy up then. All right. So the first thing that we're going to do here. All right, one thing I would like to just say is that we don't want to deform everything when it comes to like head angles here, because if you try to like, okay, you do the eyes, you do the face, you do like all this like crazy stuff, you're not going to really know how it's supposed to look. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be making a more generalized deformer to get an overall deform, and then we'll fine-tune each elements after. So as you see here, I'm making a head XY deformer, and I'm kind of like resizing it right now just to make sure it has all of my head containing elements here. Try not to actually zoom in the head. If you hold down control, you can rearrange the deformer without actually deforming the elements just yet. So what you want to do is you want to select everything that's in the head. We made our deformer. Then I changed the conversion divisions to 20 by 18 because this helps us have a bit more control when deforming angle X. And you want to make sure the child deformers inside are not protruding. So now what we're going to do is we're going to select the deformer and we're going to add 3 keyframes to angle X. And this is kind of like how we're going to start with the actual like deformation. Almost seems like I'm about to say other words with it. I try to like say the words correctly. And it's kind of a mouthful when you're trying to learn Live2D for the very first time. Like I feel like for a lot of people, it's a lot of new words you have to use, but just bear with us. We're going to be going through each step of the way. So we got our keyframes here. We're going to start with the left one. And so this left keyframe is where the model is technically going to be looking to the right. But when we do our input in our face for VTube Studio, we are looking left. That's what that keyframe represents. So even though technically it's you looking left, the model's going to be looking right. Hopefully that makes sense, my core.
It does, yeah.
And now we're just going to start deforming. We're just doing some very light deformings. If you notice how I have the big parent deformer and how it's affecting everything on my face, that's how we want to kind of start off with. And there isn't like a, I guess, quote unquote, right way to do it. I've seen many different ways on how people deform the face like this. I'm actually going to add a bit more Bezier division numbers to get more control. This step is mainly for like the outlines of the face. And yes, it's going to look a little silly, but we can always fix it later. That's why we're doing the overall one first, and then we'll kind of fine tune it. And there may be some instances where I am not talking because this takes a lot of focus. My core can attest to how much focus this can take.
No, it does.
So I'm just making sure like I do this as, I guess, quickly as possible, so to say. I'm actually going to hide the mask because it's a little difficult for me to see if I'm deforming the chin correctly. All right, so how does that look? Okay. All right. A little wonky, but that's okay. We can fix that.
We can fix her.
Yeah. We can definitely fix this. It's supposed to look sillier the first time we do this, so don't worry. All right, so we're just gonna add a little bit more here. And now some people like to use the brush tool. For this lesson, I'm keeping it very simple by just using the Bezier division you know, the little crosses that you see, the green crosses up on the screen. And one thing I will say is right here on the Bezier edit type, you can select smooth. Right now I have it on retain control position, which means like as I'm moving the mesh, it's a little bit more sharper. But usually for the face, a lot of people like to add it on smooth, so that way when you're deforming it, it's a lot, well, smooth. That I don't know how else to explain it. And now that we kind of have somewhat of a motion, we can reflect this, which means I don't have to do the other side, because look at that, it reflects the motion. You see how much faster this can be when you're reflecting motions?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Let's see here. And so right here, we can start to add our angle Y. Now, I know some people like to do X and Y right away when they do this deformer. I forgot to add the parameter to the Y. It really doesn't matter because we were just doing angle X anyways. But now we can start adding in our angle Y parameter. So what we're gonna do is, let's see here. We're going to select all of the deformers, which we only have one. And then we're going to copy and paste the entire deformer. Now we're going to select everything that was in our old head XY deformer, and we're going to rename it to face XY. And now remember, when you go into the inspector palette and you rename it, you want to hit enter, otherwise it's not going to register the name change. Then we're going to drag face XY inside of head XY. And bear with me, I know this is a little confusing, but bear with me. There's a reason for this. I'm trying to bow my head down as I do this so you can see this. So you see how like there's all those little elements in there where we have, oh wait, I gotta take it out of the face warp. Okay, so the mask, the line, the color, that's gonna go up here. This is what we want in the head XY, and we're gonna delete this face warp because we actually don't need that. So now we have our face XY deformer, and we still have the brand new head XY deformer. It's deformed the exact same way. It's the exact same copy of the other deformer we just made, okay? So we wanted to move our face and face line and the mask into head XY, but not face XY, because the head XY is that overall general deformer of the face. And then this new face XY is where we can kind of fine tune the rest of the face elements. And then each little deformer that we had made, like the mouth warp, the blush, IR, eyebrows, all those deformers, if we need to fine tune those elements more, we can go in there and do that for angle X. Because this is what I will say. Angle X is the most time consuming angle you will work on, because it is really hard to deform your left and right side. It is way easier to do up and down and, you know, Z. Angle X takes the most amount of time. And now, Base-chan doesn't have any hair, so whenever you make deformers for like your hair or any accessories, you want to make sure that your deformer is centered. So you know how I was I was adjusting the size of the deformer earlier by holding down control? Now, this is because if you don't have your deformer centered, it's going to make it really hard to reflect that motion later on down the road. And I feel really bad for people who have asymmetrical models, because I feel like it's really hard to do horizontal reflections. But that is why you want it to be a little bit more centered. All right, so now we're going to select, after we're done messing with head XY, we'll select our face XY, and we're going to make more adjustments to that. And it's always good to like keep checking your work too. Are you following this okay so far, my Cora?
Yes.
Keyboard slam.
I'm not mashing buttons, I swear.
That's me though.
Eventually something will work, right?
Hey, this is why we try to make it as simple as possible for today. All right, so now we're gonna select our face XY and adjust it like this because it's gonna make the face look a bit more 3D and less squished. Because it looks like they pinched in the side of her head right now. Also, thank you so much. It's just for the gifted sub, by the way. All right, so we're still adjusting a little bit more here. Oh, whoa. Luna, thank you so much for gifting. Wait,
Wait.
50 T1. Oh my goodness. Thank you so much. Wow. And Valorant for the 10 gifted and 6 bonus. We're doing some Live2D tutorial lessons today because I am sponsored by Live2D. I'm actually very happy to announce my sponsorship with Live2D Cubism. I have been making models for years, and so I'm very happy to be teaching all of you the process behind making models. So thank you so much, Luna, for the gifted subs. Thank you. Please feel free to enjoy the lesson as we kind of go through. We're gonna be doing a couple lessons today. Okay, so my Cora, do you see how I'm highlighting and selecting the like parts of it? You can do that so to get a more controlled version of those points. And you can actually use your arrow keys to go inside the like deformer. So instead of you physically moving it with your cursor, you can use your arrow keys as well. It gives it more precision.
Oh.
And so we want to go back to like, and basically what you're all seeing me doing right now is I'm going back and forth between the face XY deformer and the head XY deformer, and I'm making just adjustments to the original base. And I'm going to keep going back and forth to make extra adjustments until you feel like, or until I guess I feel like the face looks and feels right. This is going to take some time and patience, but thankfully Basechan is a chibi and we can get away with something looking a bit more deformed versus like the more realistic effect. And I've been doing this for years, so you kind of have a little bit of a trained eye with the uncanny valley. So my Cora, try your best to just kind of follow along. It's okay if like you're not fully getting it exactly like how I'm doing it. This is a very patient process. But yes, thank you everybody for tuning in to watch us do some Live2D stuff. Like, thank you. Just gifting a late Christmas present cheer up. Thank you so much, Luna. I am feeling a little bit better today. I was very sick yesterday. Still a little sick, but not too bad. I'm a lot better today. You would be amazed at what sleep does for you. Right, my Cora?
Dude, I know.
You can ask her. I was like dying yesterday. I was so tired. Let's see. Perfect. Yes. I'm making a new deformer for the eyes right now because I don't like, how do I say? I don't want to adjust them individually just yet. It's a little bit easier for me to adjust them together right now because we're still in like the overall phase-ish. Now, when we have more complex models like how my Cora and I look on screen, there's way more deformers and more fine-tuning we're going to have to do. But for the sake of time for today, I am doing just a general type of thing. Because again, Basechan's a chibi, so I can get away with more deformation. I almost said the wrong word. You're off. Thank you, Luna, for stopping, and I appreciate it. I hope you have a good holidays. Thank you. And I am doing well today. I am doing well today. So yes. You missed the beginning stream. Is this a free program or do you have to pay? So Live2D Cubism is free. There is a free version for it. However, there is a pro version of the program as well. And the difference between the free version and the pro version is that you have more how I'm trying to think of the word. Basically, the free version has some limitations, like when it comes to like parameters, which I don't believe we have gone into this issue just yet. But you can't have more than like 3 parameters connected to the same deformer. What that means is like, for example, in a future lesson when we do blend shapes with like our mouth and eyes, sometimes you have to have your eye layers connected to 3 parameters here. And the free version only lets you connect to 2. And then you kind of have limited storage on how many deformers you can have in it. And honestly, Live2D Cubism has a really big discount for students. So if you're in like college or maybe high school, I bet to double check that. Basically, if you have like some kind of school email that you use, you can get a really big discount on the program. I think I don't have that, but I think I pay about $20 a month. And you can do like a bulk purchase. I just pay for it monthly because I don't know. I forget to do the yearly thing. I really should do that to get the discount. But there is a free version of this. And if you want to do the a trial version of the pro version of Live2D Cubism, it's like 42 days where you get to have all the pro features and stuff and you can kind of mess around with it. The limitation isn't like that much in retrospect, but like, yeah, you can still do some beautiful Live2D modeling rigs with the free version. I've seen like Live2D rigging challenges, which I want to do in the future with just the free version. So that's like future content for us later on. Oh, I should probably explain what I'm doing right now with the eyeball here. So, basically, when we go back to reflect on both like the head and face XY, we want to make sure that like we're being mindful of the fine-tuned items that we're doing in the child deformers here. So right now, I had made an XY deformer for my eyes, and I had clicked on consider child deformers because this is a new feature for Live2D. What this does is the new deformer that you're making, it recognized that you had deformers as like the child deformers. So whatever you had done for the children deformers, it's going to take that into consideration when making like the parent deformer. I know that seems a little bit confusing, but basically if you have a bunch of mini deformers and you make one big parent deformer, it makes it big enough to fit all the other deformers that you had made. It's really helpful for certain eyeball movements. And then for this, we're just adjusting the eyeballs back slightly because it's a little hard to tell with Base-chan because she has one solid eyeball. But if I had like pupils and all those other eye movements, we would want to move the pupil back a little bit with the head turn for like a parallax effect because it has like a 3D movement on it. And if you think about it, your eye is kind of like a sphere. So your eyes wouldn't normally come forward like this naturally when you're turning your head. So it gives it a more like realistic feeling. That was a mouthful. What is this program called again? Live2D Cubism. So if you're watching this on YouTube, I do have everything linked in my description. And now we're going to reflect the motion for this. Don't worry about this. It's just a little tip telling me. So the reason why this tip is showing up on screen is because, like, again, if your deformers are not symmetrical and you try to reflect something, it's not going to reflect properly. Which is why it's very important to have symmetrical models. Again, you can do this with asymmetrical models too. It's just a little bit harder with the reflections. All right, now let's see how that looks. Oh, it's starting to come together. It's starting to come together. Still. All right, all right. Of course, we don't have a whole lot of time today for this lesson because normally I would spend a couple hours on just angle X because what I really like to get that nice, just fluid, spherical movement. But overall, it doesn't look that bad for a quick lesson today. And I haven't done the eyeballs yet. We'll do that in a later lesson where we'll actually rig the eyeball movement. So right now her eyeballs don't move, but that's okay. Let me see here. I'm just checking my notes here real quick before I move on to the next step. And this chibi model is free, by the way, so you can download Basechan and like practice alongside with us. All right, I think I'm gonna make a deformer for the eyebrows real quick just to kind of adjust these a little. Make sure to hydrate, by the way.
Yes, yes, drink.
My Cora is on hydration duty. Chibi models are also easier to work with because of the free version, since it has a smaller texture atlas. That is another limited feature for the free version, is like the texture atlas size. That is true. So I notice a lot of like people when they want to use like the free version that's not a chibi model, they'll do like a half body, because you don't need to have a full body model for streaming. You can use like a half body model and get a beautiful Live2D rigging with it. And it doesn't take up that much space on the texture atlas. Can you also make the eye pupils expand in the contract? Yes, and we will be doing that in a later lesson. But yeah, right now we're just doing angle X, which is starting to get more movement. Okay, all right. Gonna adjust the eyebrows a little bit. Here. Reflecting motion makes things so much easier. Makes it a lot faster too. And don't worry, once we start working on angle Y, it'll be a little bit faster. But I just want to make sure we make Basechan look somewhat reasonable. The free version is still quite powerful, even with restrictions. I do agree with that, yes. I will say, like, if you're ever curious about doing, like, learning animations and stuff, Live2D is a great program to kind of get in and learn it. It is a little, I guess, scary for beginners because there's a lot of things that you can do in Live2D. It's very powerful, especially with all the new updates with, like, blend shapes and the new AI tool that I'll show you in a minute. It makes, let's just say it is a lot easier to get into Live2D Cubism than it was when I first started 4 years ago. I want to squish the ears in a little bit here. Because technically when you turn your head, the parts that like go away will get smaller. And then the parts that will come towards you are going to get bigger. So I'm just moving the ears and shrinking them a little bit. Yeah, it's starting to come together. Yes. Yes. There are a lot of tools for this application. Of course, today we're only focusing on just a couple of things. Actually, I think I'm gonna make just a parent deformer for these instead of trying to do it individually. It's just faster. I can reflect it after. Alright, so now we're just gonna highlight these. And I'm gonna use my arrow keys to push it in a little bit to deform that. and make this one come out a little bit. Yeah, that looks a lot better. Yeah, just gonna bring that in more. And if you find that like while you're doing the rigging, it's like starting to look a little crunchy, you can increase the number of conversion divisions. The little tiny like squares that you see to give you more like precision. Yeah, she's coming together. Now we're going to reflect this. I always just naturally want to click the bulk reflection, which is very useful actually. If you were like doing a bunch of fine tunings on one side and you're like, oh, I gotta reflect everything, you can do the bulk reflection tool and reflect like multiple deformers. Let me see here. All right, so now we can start doing the Y. I like how we have done angle X, and now we're gonna start doing angle Y. So what you wanna do is go back to your head XY, and you're gonna start on the left keyframe because the left keyframe represents looking down. And sadly, there is a reflect vertically thing that you can do in here, but I feel like reflecting angle Y doesn't work as nicely. So we're gonna have to do the up angle manually as well as like the down angle. Just, yeah, like you can use reflect vertically, but you can use that for like eyeballs when you're moving your eyes up and down. That's really about it. Unless you have something that's super symmetrical in terms of like how it's supposed to go up and down. Otherwise, I just do it manually. And thankfully for angle Y, we don't have to do it, we don't have to deform it too much because this is just a beginner's lesson. And I'm trying to get just enough movement where it feels like Base-chan's head is looking down and up. But there are some people who can, if you have like based off of your art style and how your model is made, you can really make your face go down. And I mean down. Like where I'm like down.
Down.
And you really go up too. One little tip I will say for angle Y is that when you're looking down, the top part of your head gets a little bit wider and your chin gets a little bit smaller. And then as you're looking up, your chin gets a little bit bigger, and then your top part of your head gets a little bit smaller. And yes, we're just going to keep adjusting the face XY slightly. We see down, 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 down. And it might not look like, if you're following along here or if you're doing your own modeling at home, it might not look like you're doing a lot of movements, but each little part that you work on helps the overall picture of the model. And sometimes it is a little hard to tell how much or how little you have done with your work until you look at it in the in the physics window and like export it to see in VTube Studio, but it does all come together. And sometimes it's better to make little adjustments at first rather than big ones that, you know, that are way too much, and then you get the uncanny valley feeling. Looking up too far would require actually having art for the underside of the jaw, and I've never seen anybody doing that. There is like, when some people are looking up, I disabled my mask at the moment, but it is possible to like make the line art on the chin disappear and then add like a shadow layer to give it more depth. But that's usually as high as I've seen people rig like a face. Although there are some crazy people out there who do like complete the 360 body turns, and I think that's insane. That does require different art pieces and different cutting and a really good understanding on animation. Now we're going to synthesize the corners. So you're going to select everything on angle X, and then you're going to go to the hamburger sign, click synthesize corners, and then here you go. You get the little corner pieces right here. And you can connect the two on the parameter, you can connect them and see that. So we have our diagonals. And surprisingly, the diagonals look somewhat okay. It might look a little wonky, but it's okay because we're going to fix it. First, we're going to find our head XY, and then we're going to select the bottom left keyframe. And let me do that. And since your head is basically a sphere, we're going to adjust one side up and then the other side down. So kind of follow along with what I'm doing because it's going to make it feel more naturally. Sometimes it's easier just to kind of watch rather than me explain it because sometimes like words are confusing. Words are hard. So just kind of follow along. You see how like I'm making her right side go up slightly because it's supposed to be like a sphere. And this can be pretty tricky for people, but what's really nice is that you can still reflect horizontally in this, but you have to make sure you only have angle X selected when you reflect, which you'll notice when I go to do that. I'm going to not link these two parameters together. Like I'll unlink them so that way I can reflect it the angle X. Here. We're just making some more final adjustments for this. And now I know a lot of you who are watching on Twitch, this might be a little bit new to you, but I do make a lot of educational content on my other YouTube channel. And one of the things I really like doing is showing people how to make VTuber models and kind of like what it's like being a VTuber. I talk a lot about what it takes to do this VTubing thing, and I talk a lot about like how you can become a VTuber because a lot of people find the technology about this fascinating. If you really think about it, what we're doing here today is not that different from animations. The difference between like traditional animations that you see in like studios and like Live2D is that we don't have to draw as much art. One of these lessons in the future with Live2D, I may show you the animation panel where we actually make animations within Live2D, but we're not going to focus on that at this moment. But yeah, that is like the difference. And for those who are watching on Twitch, yes, my educational channel is the Yume channel. There we go. It's starting to come together. And look, it went from being super kind of wonky, like someone pinched the side of her face, and now we're like actually starting to get some movements here for Base-chan. Take a sip of my drink before we continue. Honestly, I kind of like how it looks here. Now all we got to do is just reflect on the angle X. So like I said, make sure you have angle X selected before you reflect. I'm going to reflect the top angle first. All right. And now see, look at that. See, the top diagonal is done. Now we just have to reflect the bottom diagonal. So you want to select angle Y and now select angle X to reflect. And now the bottom diagonal is reflected. Yay! All
Ooh.
right. How's that, my core? We now have our 4 corners done.
Oh my gosh. That's kind of cool.
Yeah. And honestly, we got that done in like 30 minutes. Now, normally, if you have a more complex model, it's going to take way longer. Way longer. But, my core, what if I told you, after you spent, let's say, hours on a model, what if I told you that there is actually a faster way to get the overall basic deformation done?
What?
Or deformation, I should say. Yes, there is. Let me close out of this window here. Bum-ba-da-dum. So, I'm going to show you a much faster way to get the overall adjustments.
Yay!
We're going to be using the auto generation feature in Live2D. I'm very excited to show you this because like it's a really good way to get like the general deformation that we had did earlier. You know how like I had to do the whole copying, pasting, like deformers. This is gonna help that like automatically without us having to do much. So for the sake of this lesson and simplicity, I removed all of the other elements in this file here. And I removed all of my deformers here. Everything's like gone. So all I have is what's in my parts palette where I had separated like all the elements in different folders. And what you're gonna do is for the auto generation, you can find it in 2 spots. You can either go to the hamburger here and go to auto generation of face motion, or, sorry, I'm like coughing. Or you can go under the modeling menu, under parameter, and then you can find it here as well. So, we're gonna go here, and then we're gonna click on Generate Face Deformer, because we gotta generate all of our deformers here. And you see here how it has corresponding parts?
Mm-hmm.
It's finding these off of my folders that I had done here. So in the PSD file, I named it these, and it's automatically detecting it. Now, if it didn't show up like for my eyes, for example, I could go in here and select which one it is. This would be like my IL and my IR, but I don't have a folder for my iris. So I'm gonna leave these blank for now, and I'll just make those deformers in a second. And if these are the number conversions, the little crosses, and sorry, Bezier divisions is the crosses. The conversion divisions, those little tiny little points. And we press OK. Deformer generated successfully. Please specify each deformer and click the Generate Motion button to continue. This is where the deforming would come into place, but we're not going to do this just yet, so we're just going to press OK. And now we're going to click on the iris, and we're going to make another deformer, and we're going to name this one Eyeball R. And then we're going to click on this iris, and we're going to make another deformer. I'm going to name this one Eyeball L, and then press Create. So now we have our eyeball deformer. And this is important because the way the auto generation, like the face deformation works, is that it has to, these files need to be named and layered a specific way. Otherwise, it's not going to work, and your elements are going to disappear. When I tried doing this the other day, like my face was disappearing. I was like, what's going on? And it's because the way the hierarchy was done wasn't correct for the AI to work properly. So that's why it's important to make sure that you name these deformers correctly, so that way the AI knows what it's doing. So now we're going to go back into the hamburger. We're going to go to auto generation of face motion, and this time we're going to click on Generate Face Motion. And you see here how my eye deformer, the IL warp, is this up here. It's not the eyeball one. This is where I messed up last time when I was trying to test it out. I didn't select the right deformer for the eyes. All of these look correct. Angle X is angle X, angle Y is angle Y. And I know it seems like kind of simple, but yes, you have to make sure it lines up correctly. What we're gonna do now is we're gonna click angle X down here. Motion generated successfully. Continue to adjust movement and deformation levels. Now, if we wanted to have more deformation, we can increase the levels here however we want. It really depends on like your model's art style. I'm not gonna really change anything. We're just gonna keep it as the default because the default's pretty good in my opinion. And now we're gonna click on angle Y, click OK. I'm just gonna leave it the same way again, and then the 4 corners. And then we press OK. Look at that.
Ooh. Whoa.
And this is a really good base. This is a really good base to start with. And then we can continue to adjust our face angles from here if we wanted to, unless if we really liked this, which, yeah, it actually looks pretty good. And look how fast that took. That didn't take that much time at all.
Yeah, that was really quick.
Mm-hmm. And there are some other like AI tools that Live2D has been implementing, but this is the one that I wanted to show you today because it makes your work a lot faster, especially if you're just trying to get a head start and you're trying to get like a good general guide, so to say. So with that being said, dun, 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 you did it! Woo! You did it! You have finished rigging the basics. Now, in our next lesson, we will begin rigging body X and body Y. Next time, of course. That is it for today's lesson. I would like to thank Live2D for sponsoring today's stream. This is the rigging software. You can go to live2d.com. This is my lovely, amazing student, my Cora Not Found. And we had used Clip Studio Paint for our drawing for base gem and Canva for our PowerPoint assets. My Cora.
Yes.
Do you have any final comments for today's lesson? It's a lot.
Yippee!
Mm-hmm.
That's my final word is yippee.
It was a lot to do, but as I said, patience is key for this. And yes, that is it for today's lesson. We're actually gonna be doing back-to-back lessons. We're gonna take a very short break, and then we're gonna come back for the next lesson where we start to rig the body. So I will see you all. I'll make a new waiting room in YouTube, and for Twitch chat, just hang out here. The stream's gonna end because I have to go use the litter box, and I'm sure my Cora needs to go use the restroom and get a drink, and we will continue. Thank you everybody so much for watching, and thank you Live2D for sponsoring today's stream. I'll see you all in the next one, and remember, everything reminds you of something.